Hello, everyone, and welcome.
Or welcome back
to the Wizarding World Legacy Podcast,
where we discuss the magic of the Wizarding World's past, present, and future.
We're your hosts, Eric
and Jasmine.
And today we're going to be taking a more in-depth look at the first trailer for the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
And we'd like to invite you to A, subscribe, and B, join us to take a look at these fast frames, as Eric likes to term them.
Because there's a lot you might have missed in your first and likely overwhelming review of the trailer.
I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I was quite overwhelmed. Our first, second, and 45th time watching it.
So we watched it for the first time with you guys live here and shared our initial thoughts, having had more time to digest it, if you will. There's a lot that we've picked up on, and being that some of these moments go by quickly, you might have missed a few. So let's jump right in.
At the speed of lightning.
Scar. So first was kind of in our little intro there, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. For those of you in the UK, you might be saying, what's the significance there, mate?
What's the point?
Even the people in Canada might be asking, what's he going on about? And what I'm going on about is in the United States, it was called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, because Americans apparently don't associate philosopher with magic. We're going back to the original. That's quite book accurate, all the way back to the original Bloomberg Publishing first edition of the first book.
I'm very excited about this one.
Yeah.
This is one when we first started talking about it, I kept going, Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, no, Sorcerer's Stone, Philosopher's Stone, because I refer to it as the Philosopher's Stone. And then Eric was like, no, it's the Sorcerer's Stone, idiot.
No, I think you got that mixed.
No, I
always
saying.
say philosopher. So in the U.S. it is.
Well, yes, in the U.S. it is Sorcerer's Stone.
I prefer philosophers.
I think it sounds cooler.
So we'll be getting that. The trailer opens up on a sneak peek of the Dursley home. And if you've ever been to these sets at Ollivander studio in London or just outside of London, this looks remarkably similar to number 4 Privet Drive.
Also, if you've seen the movies, it also looks remarkably similar.
So in the trailer, you actually get to see this from a few different angles. We'll see another angle in a second, but just the way that, you know, the door frame on the left side there is the door into the kitchen, just the exact layout almost looks identical, which begs the question, are they going to, because it was rumored that they might, are they going to reuse any elements of the existing sets from Leavesden?
Ooh.
They did supposedly build a whole new Privet Drive, so I don't know that it would make a lot of sense to. But if they just built it for exterior shots and not interior shots.
That's what I was just thinking. It's an exterior moment.
Yeah. Whereas the one at Leavesden is fully built up. So that's sort of the first shot. We get Vernon reading the paper in the back. I do wonder if this is when we're going to hear, Dudley's learned a new word. Won't. But it could be anytime because he's always reading the paper first thing in the morning.
That is very, very true. I will say, if this was in the Leavesden studio tour, don't you think we would have heard about it? Because they probably would have shut that part of the...
I would think so. And being that we saw...
Amos? Kitson,
that's what it is. Being that we saw him at the studio tour at Privet Drive with the set
in
still...
his house.
Yeah, still set up. I don't think this is. And some people have pointed out slight variations. There should be a physical door here, although when you walk through, there isn't. So it's hard to say, but
so
I thought it was nice.
There should be a physical door there.
There should be.
In
When
the
you walk
books,
through in the sets, though, there isn't.
Which is wild. And
Yep.
I don't think there was one in the movies.
There was in some scenes, which begs the question of whether or not they just built a part wall and you see the door there. And in other ones, you don't notice it because they just don't show that angle.
I'm going to have to look much deeper into this because I've never noticed a door. But in the books, once Vernon finally realizes that Harry actually has a letter addressed to them and they realize what's happening, they kick Dudley and Harry out of the kitchen and then they slam the door and Harry and Dudley have this whole scuffle over who's going to listen at the keyhole. So we
No
need
keyhole
a
here.
door for that. You need a door for a keyhole.
You do. The next shot we get actually includes a couple really nice Easter eggs. Not nice for Harry, but nice for us. Harry's getting shoved into his cupboard under the stairs, which they made look even more cramped than in the movies.
It looks so much worse.
Yeah.
It makes my heart so sad.
Canonically, it looks a lot better. But
Of
as a
course.
child having to live and exist in this space, not great. He does make it look quite homey. There's a few things that we see in here. I'm going to start by pointing out this hanger right here is the hanger that Harry gets as his birthday present from the Dursleys.
Or we assume.
Yeah, it's rumored to be. It makes sense why they would throw that in there.
Oh, absolutely.
Because he's got like nothing to hang up.
Can you imagine? Well, yeah, his clothes definitely are not clothes that you'd hang up, but can you imagine how sad your life is where one of the like maybe 6 individual presents you've gotten in your lifetime is a hanger, and it's so meaningful to you that you decide to hang the empty hanger on your wall?
Yeah, so this is going to be rife with devastating abuse.
There it is. That's it. That's
we're all
the
going to
one.
have to learn to cope with that. There's also the flying motorbike. Motorbikes don't fly. I know they don't fly. Yeah.
It was just a dream.
So we get to see the flying motorbike drawn out, pinned up in his cupboard.
Which, insinuates that Harry might be a little bit of an artist, which is adorable. It's something that people have also been pointing out is that they have made the cupboard more cupboardy. So it's not even like it's Harry's bedroom. It's like it's actually a storage closet and Harry is an item which to be stored.
What were some of the items that people thought implied it was more of a storage?
Like shaving cream, like this whole shelf thing, like a bunch of that looks like just storage.
Well, some of this is the turtle wax for Dudley's turtle.
Right.
That he ends up throwing through a greenhouse later.
Right.
Or tortoise, actually. Which could imply that it's just being stored there. Wouldn't make a lot of sense if his tortoise in his room to put it here, not in the room with the tortoise. Or it could imply that Harry's actually the one who is taking care of the tortoise because Dudley is just so incapable of taking care of anything that it falls to Harry.
That's fair. It just looks much more storagey. Like Harry's room had like one, in the films, Harry's room had one nice shelf and he actually had a bed. Now he has a mat, which I'm super heartbroken about.
But what people have pointed out in our last video where we give some tidbits here is being a show, and I agree with these comments, being a show, I think they're going to be a lot more accurate to the books than the films were.
Right.
And I think the films and having to rush through things did things a little bit more practically and probably didn't want to emphasize at the time the abuse quite as much.
But we're going to get into it
But
now.
we're getting there. HBO does not shy away from that stuff.
Nope.
Yeah.
They don't hurt my feelings all the time.
We get a few sort of small and plot-wise insignificant details that really speak to the fact that at least somebody involved in this series, in the development of the series, is like, let's throw all these little Easter eggs in to show that we actually care about the development of the series.
I love Easter eggs.
I do too. And I love these little attention to detail points really make me think, all right, somebody here at least cares that this does well.
Especially when they're filled with candy.
Moving on. Another, not really an Easter egg, but another scene that we get, this is the next scene in the trailer, is Harry starts by running down the hallway, cuts to him being slammed up against a wall with Dudley's gang, trying to outrun him. There's a few scenes in this trailer where it does raise the question, well, where and how are we going to see this? Is this going to be presented all in chronological order of the events happening? Are some of these going to occur in flashback scenes, which will make sense when we get into another moment? Because a lot of this is presented as flashbacks.
Right.
In the books, Harry has his conversation with Hagrid when he's learning that he's a wizard at the Hut on the Rocks scene is what we call it.
Right.
And he's sort of thinking about all the moments in his life where he's done things that don't really have a logical explanation. Haven't you ever made anything happen when you didn't mean to?
Don't we learn a decent amount about this on the ride to the zoo?
Yeah, so we get little flashback moments multiple times in the first book.
Yeah.
And it's sort of just like exposition where it's, Vernon says something or somebody else says something to him and then he's like, oh. And it kind of, you would think of it going and dwelling into his brain, and then you see this moment happening. I do wonder if we'll see it like that. That seems very TV show-ish or sitcom-y. Kind of. Or are we just going to see these things transpire naturally? Like we're going to see these moments happening chronologically? Because this would be prior to really where the story picks up at number 4.
With this particular one, I absolutely love that we are caring for hygiene. That's incredible.
Yeah, wash those hands, people.
Wash them. But beyond that was really interesting with this particular image that Harry's clothes look like they fit him.
True. I also find it interesting that the 2 boys who are holding him down, granted, Dudley's gang consists of numerous different kids,
Right.
don't appear to include Piers Pocus. Piers Pocus is a blonde, I think, wiry haired kid with like a mousy face. He's supposed to be scrawny. We did see somebody who we thought would be Pierce Pocus in the zoo scene when we had talked about those set leaks. Not one of these kids.
No.
So it's interesting that we're not seeing him involved.
It's these two kids are giving Crabbe and Goyle vibes, but
very much so.
In the books, most of Harry's clothes are hand-me-downs from Dudley. Dudley is significantly larger than Harry in the books, but in the show, it doesn't look like Amos Kitson is drastically larger than Dominic McLaughlin.
Although taller.
He's much taller.
So if these were Dudley's when he was much younger, they might now fit. Although when you originally got them, maybe not.
Yeah, that's fair. So I think that was the one detail I really noticed with this one.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Speaking of flashback moments, this is one of the other moments that we get presented as a flashback. It's Harry getting his hair cut by Aunt Petunia. And it talks about how she basically shaved it down until he was practically bald, except she left the bangs because she wanted to cover up that hideous scar.
Exactly where his scar is the only like actual bangs left.
It's kind of interesting because in this scene, I mean, she's being very verbally abusive to Harry throughout the whole thing, telling him how he's not special and all this other stuff. What's interesting to me is that we see Harry essentially crying. And throughout the books, it kind of emphasizes that he doesn't cry when these moments happen. And most kids would.
Now that I look at it, I don't know that he's crying. I think she's physically hurting him.
I do too. I think here it's like a wince, like you're pulling his hair.
I mean, like if you've ever tried to like cut hair with scissors, you have to like pull the hair a little bit tight, especially if you're not using like hair cutting shears.
Not if you're doing it right.
Okay, that's fair. I obviously wasn't doing it right. And I don't think Petunia is either.
No, I think she's literally just trying to hurt him and just maul off his hair.
But she did take the time to put on an apron before she aggressively cut his hair off. So I thought that was sweet of her.
Aggressively butchered and assaulted her nephew. We get a bunch of these moments peppered through the beginning of the trailer. There's sort of flashback and forth with this. It really drives home that element of abuse that Harry has to deal with at number 4 Privet Drive, and really drives home why he would never want to return there if given the option not to. That'll come into play in the 3rd book. And really drives home one of the parallels between him and Voldemort. Voldemort being an orphan, hating living at the orphanage. Harry being sort of an orphan, hating living at the Dursleys. Not wanting to leave Hogwarts because Hogwarts is my home.
To be incredibly dramatic about it, Voldemort had it better.
Actually, yeah. That's terrible to have to acknowledge.
Yeah. Sorry.
It still turned out to be a right prat. We get another look at that hallway. I know, right? This is one of those scenes where you're like, Harry, just open the
letter.
You've got it in your hand.
Looking at it, you're reading it every single time I watch the movies.
It's addressed to you, so much so that it notes cupboard under the stairs.
Read the letter.
But like an idiot, he continues his walk down this hallway to the Dursleys and has it abruptly taken away from him, along with every subsequent letter.
I just feel very strongly about that, but I have a handle on myself now.
So not a blink and you'll miss it moment, but it's nice to see a little bit more of the set. In the set from Leavesden, this door is further up.
Okay.
So I don't think this is that set. I think this is a new set.
New set, final vote.
It looks like a pocket door too.
What's a pocket door?
So the door slides into the wall. It doesn't open, it slides into the wall, which actually was a pretty big thing in the 90s. Good space saver, so it didn't have to open and close.
Cool.
Just literally slides into the wall. We then flash forward to Harry on the train with Rube Bay as Hagrid. One of the things about this scene that I found a little bit confusing is we don't see anything with them. We just see Hagrid and Harry. We don't see Hedwig. We don't see all the funny shaped packages or anything like that. So I'm wondering if we're going to see them on the train twice.
What if that is on the train too?
That's what I'm saying.
Right. We see them in the books on the train.
I don't think we see them in the books on the train too. I know we see them on the way back.
I mean, they
when
talk
they go
about
get
their
hamburgers.
whole journey. That's where like Harry has the discussion of like he was.
Oh, he's talking about the turnstiles. I always mix that up with Arthur because he goes on the train with Arthur too.
Oh yeah, that's wicked fair.
Okay. So this must be on the way too. We don't get a glimpse of him on the train on the way home, so we don't get to see all the funny packages and how that'll look.
No.
Which is okay.
We don't get it in the trailer.
We should
get it in the show.
Yeah. There's some dialogue that happens here, which maybe it makes more sense knowing that this is on the way too.
Right.
than thinking about it on the way home.
Because originally we were concerned on the way from, Harry is like in this intense place of contemplation. He's learned a lot. He's seen a lot, sort of had his whole life flipped upside down in a good way.
But now he has to go back to the Dursleys for a few weeks.
Right. There's a lot there to process. So Harry's processing. And so we thought it was odd that they were talking on the train.
Also, some of the conversation that we were getting here seemed like it would have been what happened at the Hut on the Rocks.
Right.
And we know they filmed that because we saw a bunch of different set leaks for that. It's not clear whether or not that dialogue was just overlaid for the trailer and it's not really happening here. Or is he reiterating certain things? Or is that continued discussion about his parents? Like Harry asks another question, which I believe he does on the train ride too.
I do think so. Originally, I had made the point that it could have been overlaid, but eventually we see a shot of Hagrid sort of finishing the
sentence.
Audio that we hear over sort of different flashes cuts between scenes. So I do think it is happening on the train. So my assumption is that Harry has just asked another question.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense. We kind of wanted to point that out because I thought that this was the scene of them returning from Diagon Alley, and sort of watching it a couple times, it makes sense that it's probably not.
Couple hundred.
This is also the first time we get to see Harry's scar. Not really a blink and you'll miss it moment, but if you watch it too quickly and you're just like, oh my God, it's a scar, you might not realize like how flesh toned that is, how realistic that looks as like, it's almost like a keloid scar where it gets kind of like bulky, but stays very much flesh toned. Odd thing, I guess, about this, it's pretty off to the side. If you see any of the illustrations that J.K. Rowling has given for Harry with his scar, she's pretty intentional at saying it's almost right in the middle. It's like just off the side to the middle. This is something they did in the films too. It was a little bit more lateral, and now it's gone even further over. Personally, I think a little bit further over kind of makes sense because, you know, like when you brush your hair out of your face, like I have a natural part this way. I would kind of go like this. And so then you would expose the scar. Yeah. Versus if it's in the middle, some of this might brush over this way and still cover it. If every time he brushes his hair out of your face, you see it, it makes sense that it would be a little more lateral.
Yeah, I think logically it makes sense. And this is one of those details where we have the scar. The scar is represented as it was sort of described in the books and as it was illustrated. So I'm pretty content with that. I think we've had a lot of discussions about the fact that we were promised a page for page book faithful adaptation. And we're getting something close to that, but not exactly that. And so
a little bit of artistic or visual interpretation of things.
Right. And so I think that, you know, some people, you know, were questioning why we got so caught up on the dialogue when we first watched the trailer. Eric and I have been expecting a page for page book faithful adaptation for a while.
Well, and a lot of people were because that was the initial statement. And before show writers came in and said they were going to be expanding things, that was the initial statement.
Right. And we're familiar with the books.
At least a little bit.
At
least a little.
So whenever I get any content for the show, my first thought is, well, how does it compare to the books? Is it accurate? And then you give me a little more time to sit with it and I could say, okay, I think this is a good change. Or I can say, and that just happens every now and again. So this is one of those ones where I'm like, not really going to change much for me.
Yeah, like I'm pretty indifferent to it. If anything, I like how it's depicted here more than the movies.
I do. I feel like Harry's always looked like borderline, like an open wound.
Yeah, it was weirdly red and almost like it was just cut.
Right.
For the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas this is like, it's a scar.
It's clear that it's healed over. And I don't know what made me think of it, but when Dumbledore is like, oh, I have a birthmark of islands.
I too have a scar on my thigh that is like an exact replica of the London Underground.
Oh, yes, the London Underground. And when he mentions that, I think of like a healed over scar. So this just sort of makes sense to me. That point might not have made any sense. And I get that. It made sense to me, though, and that's all that matters.
Which, to backtrack for 1 second, we do actually get a view of the London Underground map up here.
You can see Dumbledore's thighs.
On the train. Really weird. All right, the next one is train adjacent. We see Harry running at the barrier, not the brick wall, at platform 9 3/4 at King's Cross Station.
My guy is running.
They did build parts of the set for King's Cross and for platform 9 3/4 for them to be able to film at. This looks very similar to actual King's Cross Station here. So they might have filmed, and I believe I believe we saw some set leaks of them filming at actual King's Cross Station. So this might actually be there. It's interesting to think of them shutting down modern day King's Cross Station for a day of filming or even for several hours of filming because of all the traffic that goes through there.
Right, but I think they did.
And because there's stuff physically there that would have to change.
Also, shout out Hedwig.
We get to see Hedwig in here and we get to see Harry's trunk and the juxtaposition of sort of the, modern versus the old style trunks. And there's a very different styling for the owl cage.
Yeah, it's like
this,
wood.
Well, it's like wood and it's like this sort of ovular shape this way, but it's not ovular over the top. You don't have that, sort of atrium kind of effect from the top. It's flat.
Right.
So some people are like, well, it's like they're just trying to change everything so it's as distant from the movie as possible. Who cares? It looks cool.
I think it looks cool. I just love Hedwig.
Hedwig's pretty awesome. Equally train adjacent. We get a flash to a scene when they're on the Hogwarts Express, or at least Harry is. And I think this is when Ron gets called back out by his mom or something like that. He hasn't got on the train yet. And she gives him a hug goodbye. And Harry sees the red-haired woman who helped him get onto the platform, give her son a hug. And this is the motherly love that Harry has been deprived of his entire life. And actually, like, it's described as being like kind of an upsetting moment for him because he sees the son and mother relationship that he never has gotten to know.
I will say, like, yes, definitely is upsetting. He has grown up his whole life seeing Petunia give Dudley just all of the love in the entire world.
But it's like a very shallow love.
Well, I think that she truly loves him. I think one of the biggest differences here is that Molly was nice to Harry, like a person that was like nice to him and just wasn't downright abusive, showing affection towards a kid his age. And he's like, that could have been me.
It could have been my mom.
And he's obviously thinking a lot about his parents now because, they've come back up and they were wizards and this is something that they have done. So like, imagine, going your whole life literally being physically and mentally and psychologically abused. And then suddenly you're realizing all of the time and experiences that you could have had with your parents.
Pretty sad. This is a quick moment. It actually flashes by relatively quickly.
Also, Ron's backpack is very modern.
Yes, it is pretty modern.
Most of the bags in Harry Potter are those leather bags that have the thing. This looks like a JanSport.
Remember, they're coming through a Muggle platform.
Totally makes sense that they would have that. I just think it's
And remember that his dad is obsessed with Muggles.
Oh, yeah.
So their family, I think, would be a little bit different in terms of their fashions and stuff like that. A even quicker sort of blink and you'll miss it moment is the turnaround shot for this, where we see Harry through the window. You can still see Molly and Ron embracing, but you also get to see your first sneak peek at Ginevra Weasley reflected in the glass. And I love that we're getting a little sneak peek.
It's interesting. Maybe she just doesn't notice Harry, but she's not. It doesn't look like she's looking at Harry.
No, it looks like she's looking at Ron and Mom. At some point, we know she does look at Harry, and she's like, "Oh, can I meet him? Can I?" And he like ducks back.
His face looks so sad.
Looks desperate.
I do think that based off of this 2-minute and 8-second trailer, Dominic McLaughlin is...
I think he's going to do a great job.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of tugging on the heartstrings, I think, for the first season.
Yeah, I'm going to need to get a cardiac checkup because my heart, this one has impacted my heart a little bit.
Going to have a lot of Takatsubo's cardiomyopathy showing up at the hospital. That's broken heart syndrome.
Exactly.
It's a real thing. We then get a look at the actual Hogwarts Express, not just through the windows. We also get to see Hogsmeade Station here. I love these little lights.
Yep.
They look like these like sort of oversized fairy lights. I think in the photo screen grab that they had shared, you really couldn't see this section of the platform nearly as well.
I could see the lights, but nothing further than that.
Right. You can actually see the archway here that they walk through. You can see that there's like a bench here. So there's a lot of detail there. Again, we commented on this because we really loved how it looked in the trailer. It's just like tucked into the woods on one side, and on the other side you have your way into Hogsmeade, into Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. Also, Hagrid's here. This is our first look at Hagrid in the setting of his function as gamekeeper. And he's got a little lamp. He's got a little hat on. It almost looks like a Santa hat.
Yeah, the hat choice. We'll see it again, but it's a choice.
It's a choice. We then bump over to Hagrid with the lantern and the students all following him through the woods. And again, that kind of silly looking hat here. I'll try to blow it up on screen.
Teeny tiny little hat.
And this would be leading them down to the lake. Yes. You know, in the movies, we just got this quick, like...
They get off the train.
They're at boats. They're at the castle.
Yeah, it's magical.
Magically quick. I think we're going to get more of this little journey on screen.
I agree.
So they'll walk down to the boats. They're going to get into the boats. They're going to cross the Black Lake. And we were sort of saying how we thought the first episode could end. And we had said, what if at the last scene we hear doom, 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 and Hagrid knocks on the door 3 times, just like in the chapter. And what do you know? In the trailer, timed to the music, he knocks 3 times. I do wonder if that's where they'll end the first episode.
I just think that there's a lot of validity to this point, and if we're right,
I'm going to give myself one of these pretty hard if we're right.
one of these.
I'll give you one.
Oh my,
It was a shared idea.
please.
And after he knocks on the doors, the next scene cuts to these massive doors opening up to a beautiful
Welcome to Hogwarts.
grand entrance hallway. This is not the Great Hall. Some people just, when talking about it, call it the Great Hall by accident. It's not the Great Hall. We never actually get to see the Great Hall of Hogwarts. We only get to see the grand entrance hall. I want you guys to pay attention to these stairs back here, because those are going to come back around later. But there's a lot here. There's a lot to unpack in this one photo.
There is a lot to unpack. My favorite thing is the nature architecture, like the tree straight up.
Well, trees in a couple different ways too, right? You've got actual evergreen arborvitae type trees here, living trees, which I didn't notice the first time.
Right.
Because I was too stricken by these columns.
The columns
that are trees.
I love them.
We'll see this again in another scene that we're going to share, but sort of a nature or natural vibe is definitely being integrated into Hogwarts and into the Harry Potter experience here. I like it. Visually, I think it looks great. I mean, using these massive trees as columns, I don't know, it's kind of magical in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. It's very much reminding me of Rivendell from Lord of the Rings, embracing sort of the nature that was originally there.
I like the chandeliers.
Mm-hmm.
I love the
I really
fires
like
and stuff.
the banners.
Yeah, so let's talk about the banners, because initially we thought we were seeing fewer banners than we actually get to see. You know, you got the Welcome to Hogwarts first years.
Yeah.
Or I think it's just Welcome first years. And then you've got a house banner here and a house banner here. And those are, I wish I could zoom in a little bit.
And either Ravenclaw or Slytherin.
Slytherin.
Okay.
But if you look closely, you can see that there's another banner kind of sticking out on the edge.
Yeah.
And I think the reverse would be the other house banner. So all 4 are technically there.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not seeing all of them because of the angle. Because it would seem odd to only represent 2 of the houses as you first walk in. There's also
I'm just so excited.
There's also some banners back here. I don't know that those are house specific. We'll see those again in another scene. The next shot goes to our first close up on Minerva McGonagall. Her hair is pulled back. We do see her glasses, which will have to be depicted in her animagus form, because we see those as the lines.
They're supposed to be squares.
These are kind of cat-like. I think they're playing on the cat-like. I'm hoping that we can sort of see the lines as if it's the earpiece of the glasses on her fur when we see her animagus form.
I very much hope that is the case. This is one of those where I was kind of hoping for a cat that was going to have little squares around its eyes. That'd be really cute.
Yeah, I hope the cat eye glasses isn't a way to easily get around the whole we see it on her because it's cat eyes.
Right. No, yeah. I do want that detail.
Very different hat.
Yep. Minerva McGonagall is much more fashionable in this rendition.
Not really robes either, which I guess the teachers don't necessarily have to have robes as we think of it with the kids. There's all sorts of different stylings of robes. There's dress robes, there's casual robes. There's within the lore of the wizarding world, there's business style robes, fashionable robes. This could just be sort of a different take on that, but definitely different than we see it in the movies and different than I think I imagined it from any of the book art.
For sure. Definitely different. And all of these things I will probably get over in the heat of the moment. I just wanted her to have square glasses.
And slick back hair.
Right. Well, yeah.
But this is nice. It does look nice.
She looks impressive. And I like the Scottish tartan.
The next scene is somebody reaching for the sorting hat.
Mm-hmm.
Presumably Harry.
Yep. To
put it on and get sorted for the first time into Gryffindor.
It's giving 4-legged stool.
Oh, I didn't, you know what? I didn't even look at that. 3-legged versus 4-legged because there was a correction made in the books where it started as 3. That's right. And then went to 4. And there was some theories around that being intentional because then the Sorting Hats talk is about unity and all that kind of stuff. We'll see. We'll see if they actually do that.
It's definitely mentioned in our previous works. So if you're super curious.
Very different styling of hat too. This is like a leather hat. I think time period wise, because this hat was created when the 4 founders were still at the school, even before Slytherin left. And so this hat would be like 1,000 years old.
He's looking so good for 1,000.
He's looking great for 1,000.
Like,
but like a
up.
leather style hat, tall hat like that would actually be probably period accurate. It would make sense.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think it's kind of interesting. Like, we have magic. How have we not like fixed his holes and stuff?
It's a part of his character.
I mean, I get it, but just like feels like it could be done.
I don't know. You don't want to mess with it. What if you mess up the enchantments?
That's actually a really good point. I'm sorry. I take it back. Redacted.
So I asked you to pay attention to those staircases. They're going to come back one more time, but this is sort of the back of that entrance hall. Just as sort of a little disclaimer, a lot of these slides, I actually had to really boost the shadows on them and bring up the exposure. It was very dark, especially on YouTube, but I was able to get a 4K version that was uncompressed from HBO and looks much better. Colors are much cleaner. There's not all that color artifacting. You may see some of that color artifacting in here because I boosted the shadows, and this is going to end up on YouTube. So don't use this as a visual representation of how things will look in the final, film in terms of color of robes and those kind of stuff. But we get to see these other staircases up the back. We get to see those other banners, and we get to see the trio together. Ron looks like he just fits right in.
Yep.
He knew what to expect because Fred and George and Bill and Percy and everyone's gone here before. So I'm just doing the same thing.
That's what you do.
So he just kind of looks at home. Harry looks like, what's that? What's that? Oh my goodness, what's that? Like he's kind of overwhelmed-ish. I can't really read Hermione's expression.
She looks judgmental to me.
Yeah, she looks like,
it's like,
really? Are you wearing that on your first day?
he's giving what?
Yeah, I can't read her expression. It's interesting to see the trio together. Of course, we don't know when this particular shot takes place.
Right.
I'm guessing that they're already sorted, but I guess I don't have anything to validate that.
I mean, Hermione's wearing a red headband.
Might just be a color she likes. We'll get back to that. We do see the new Hogwarts crest, although we're going to get a closer look at that later. We don't know if they're sorted, but we also don't know when this actually takes place in the series. So it's interesting to see the 3 of them together because obviously they don't start out friends.
Nope.
This is sort of a turnaround of that same angle. So those spiral stairs that we saw would be behind us. This would be sort of the front of the entrance hall. We see a bunch of students and we get to see a couple more banners. This is not the same day. And you can be certain that it's not the same day because of the banners. You see a Slytherin banner here, but it's a different style than we saw in the entrance hall before. We see another Slytherin banner.
Oh.
Why would we see 2 Slytherin banners?
I don't know.
So this one says, win Slytherin. I suspect this is the day of the Slytherin versus Gryffindor Quidditch match. And so that's why you're seeing a couple of them up. It's interesting that we're getting like different styles of like house banners.
Yeah.
Definitely creates more merch opportunities.
I'm going to go broke.
I know, right? We also see some of the older students here, and some of them do have the more like leather style bags and stuff. And then like the over the shoulder messenger bags. Just another awesome look at a very different interpretation of the castle. I actually like it. Some people weren't thrilled with the drastic change.
Love the castle.
Me too.
Love it.
Why don't you talk about this one? I'm talking this whole time.
Oh, no. Eric and I have had this conversation that when we first watched the trailer and every time we've watched it since that, I kind of just like love it and live it. And Eric,
Probably see that based on our emotional difference in reaction.
there is some tonality differential. I'm experiencing it. Eric is observing and dissecting. So Eric tends to notice things much faster than I do. But this is Harry buying his first wand from Garrick Ollivander. It's similar, but different from his wand.
It's definitely different. It doesn't look like the sort of natural wood look like his other one did. It was like gnarled at the end and stuff.
Yeah.
There's definitely like all these like little gnarls and things on it, which
Yeah.
almost look uncomfortable to hold. And they're definitely going for a
See,
more stylistic approach.
I imagine them being comfortable. You put like a gnarl between each finger.
But he's a little kid, so the spacing of his fingers is
Oh,
going to
that's
change
fair.
significantly. It also looks a little shorter than his original, which is fine. There's a specific measurement to each one that indicates a specific trait of the wizard. It's a little bulky at the end as well.
His hands do look so little.
What I liked is, if people remember back to the first and second movie, especially, the wands that they originally used were not specifically like themed at all. They were just very plain. Like you look like you'd see them in like a shop in Salem, Massachusetts, or places like that, where it's just kind of like, yeah, it's wood, but it's carved on a lathe and it's
Right.
not like stylized.
Very smooth.
Very smooth, very basic. They did eventually move to the more stylistic ones that had more personal touch to each character.
Obviously.
Those are the ones that you would go out and buy nowadays. And that was really when they adopted this sort of resin printing technique because people were breaking wands left and right.
Harry went through what?
I thought it was over 100.
Yeah.
It was a stupid amount of wands. And then somebody told him that in his last filming day. He's like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was breaking that. But he would like drum on things and yeah. This series.
I wonder if they made them more durable.
Yeah, I was going to say they should use a more durable resin. We get a first look at one of the classrooms. Do you know what classroom this is? Or did you when you first saw it?
Defense Against the Dark Arts?
No.
Potions?
Uh-uh.
History of Magic.
A history of magic. And there's a couple reasons why pretty much everyone thinks now that this is a history of magic. One, or I should say a few. One is just sort of the array of students. This is a very lecture hall style classroom. It's obviously not one where you're like casting spells or practicing charms or things like that. So it's not going to be charms. It's not going to be transfiguration.
Wait, you could totally be casting charms here.
You could, but if you see how the students are arranged, they're pretty close to one another. And this just suits itself to note taking. It's very much like college lecture hall.
I know, but if you think of the first charms class in the movies, they're also in like the lecture style.
Yes, but it's not rows. It's like that U-shaped
I guess.
classroom. The other big reason is because of the chalkboard and the projector screen. The chalkboard has a particular importance. Do you know what it is?
Nope.
All right. So the chalkboard is specifically mentioned because we see one of the professors come through it. Professor Binns.
Oh.
Because he
comes
sleeps.
out of the...
He sleeps on that side of it in the next room over. And
The ghosts sleep?
apparently.
Apparently.
I zoomed in on that same frame because this is actually his head. I don't know if that's him floating through the chalkboard for the first time or if you just don't see the rest of his body all the time, but that's his head. And this is also tentatively our first look at Hogwarts. So there's a big castle there that they're talking about. And a lot of people speculate they're talking about a history of magic or Hogwarts a history because that's one of the first textbooks that they have to get.
Sorry. What?
Hogwarts. A history.
Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah. Which inevitably we'll have to hear Hermione say.
If there's no pause, I will die.
I don't know if that's going to be like how Hogwarts actually looks or if this is sort of like an artistic rendition of it or what it is, but that's the closest we get to a look at the exterior of Hogwarts in the whole trailer.
Our theorized exterior of Hogwarts.
Yeah, so if you're waiting to see the exterior of Hogwarts, just click off. You're not gonna, no, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
Please don't.
They don't show it in the trailer. But yeah, Professor Binns, History of Magic.
That's crazy. The head coming through the chalkboard is wild.
I know. It's one of those things that you literally had to screen, like pixel peep to notice what you were seeing.
Pixel peep?
Pixel peep.
Is that a term?
Yeah. Photographers talk about pixel peeping all the time.
I love that.
We get a turnaround of Harry note-taking. This probably happens the first class.
Yeah.
And then he's like, wow, I'm learning from a ghost. That makes me wish I was dead.
Yeah.
Because this is so boring. We get to see Hermione
Arabella
sitting in front of him. I don't know who the boy is here. I wonder if that's Ron next to him here. It looks like it.
Yeah.
He's got red hair. And then we see Sienna Musa, which is lavender brown, sitting behind him. And she's kind of, if you look at the frame closely, it almost looks like she's looking at Harry. So they might actually be talking about Harry. Or she's looking at the camera, which is so little kid. That's so cute. But it kind of looks like she's looking at the camera, not Harry. I like all the candles. Like everything's candlelit. There's no muggle technology. It's very magical. We get our first look at the Hogwarts dormitories, or specifically Gryffindor. This one was a little bit hard to get a good screen grab for because it basically is a revolving shot where it comes in on Harry and you see sort of the balconies up here, and there's kind of two layers of balconies, which is definitely not how it's described in the books.
Nope.
Although there is a left and a right for the boys and the girls dormitory. It then sort of cranes up and spirals. So you're getting a top-down shot of the dormitories. I did not include, maybe I'll add a slide in post that shows that. It's very quick. It's hard to get a nice still frame because it's a moving shot. So there's a lot of motion blur. But it's a quick look. It looks a little bit bigger in terms of the central gathering area.
Yeah.
Than the
I was going to
movies.
say that.
But it doesn't look as oversized as if you played Hogwarts Legacies. I thought the one thing was the dormitories were massive.
Just huge.
Yeah, the common rooms were just gargantuan.
Yeah.
Especially the Slytherin one. I was sort of into Slytherin and I'm like, this is supposed to be like down in the dungeons, and they have like a 5-story window into the Black Lake, which is cool and which certainly could happen. It's just really massive. And you've got maybe 40 students per house at a time. It's
Right,
pretty
like,
small school.
might be a
Sorry,
little
40 students
excessive.
per year.
They were
and
large.
and that's not 40 per house per year. That's 40 students per year, 10 per house.
Like 70 students per house.
We get a shot of our new Lux Pratt as Draco Malfoy. A few things to pick out here. Again, we get a little bit of a glimpse on that Hogwarts badge on the robes. You'll notice everybody has a Hogwarts badge on their robes. Nobody has a house badge.
And I'm assuming that this is after they're sorted because that is Pansy Parkinson.
On the right.
And then obviously Crabbe
Crabbe
and
and
Goyle.
Goyle.
But I don't think that the three of them were friends with Pansy Parkinson until after that they were sorted.
Yeah, I believe that's true. We also see that he's got the signet ring on the pinky. It's kind of that whole thing we talked about with them thinking they're aristocratic and we're better than you. And this is a visual way of depicting that. There's other ways that the Slytherins try to depict that, but that was one of the main ones we focused on. The sort of bringing out of the wands in a sort of threatening manner suggests that this might be a glimpse at the challenging Harry to a duel. Although
They challenge in the Great Hall.
right, but they might take liberties as to where this happens. This
fair.
could be just outside the Great Hall.
Yeah, but why are you taking your wands out when you're challenging someone? They're not fighting right there. Also, Pansy Parkinson isn't a part of that.
Again, could be artistic license.
It makes it so hard to predict every single last detail.
It does. But a lot of people are speculating this could be sort of the precursor to the Midnight Duel. Who's your second?
I'm a second. I'm not his second.
No, you fight it on your own, Harry. You beat Voldemort. You don't need me. We get to see our first look at the Nimbus 2000 in a very 90s packaging.
So 90s.
I love it. It reminds me of like Christmas. Of course, he's not getting this at Christmas,
Of
but
course it reminds him of Christmas because he had Christmas in the 90s.
I did. I'm old enough for that. That's true.
That's crazy.
But I love the packaging, the gold lettering.
Swift is what?
Swift is a snitch.
Love. I like it.
I would like to open that until I found the broom inside. We'll get to that in a minute. But we get our first glimpse at it here. It's cute that he's opening up with Ron. The one inconsistency, though, is the packaging is not a box. It looks like a broom. Although, given its size, maybe it looks like a broom. People know what brooms typically come in terms of a size of a box.
Given the atrocity of the shape of the brooms, how are we going to wrap them?
Well, they were able to do it with the other brooms, which would be difficult.
The one that's got like
We'll
a four?
get it. Yeah,
how
we'll
do
get
you
it.
wrap that?
We'll get into
A
that.
professional rapist. How do you wrap that?
There's always a way. Speaking of Quidditch, we get to see more Quidditch. Now, we just mentioned the Slytherin versus Gryffindor.
Right.
That is perhaps the most important game in the first book because
Harry catches the snitch.
with his mouth.
Wait, but that's the first game they play.
Correct. But we're seeing a different team.
Right, we're seeing Hufflepuff, so I imagine this is just the Hufflepuff match.
So what I'm saying is, in the movies, we got to see the Slytherin game
Right,
because there was plot importance to it,
right.
because he catches the snitch that comes around at the end of the stories. But we're seeing Hufflepuff, which means we are definitely getting more than one Quidditch game, which is awesome.
Unless they're taking creative liberties.
They better not. Well, no, because I made the point earlier with the banners, win Slytherin. That suggests we're going to probably see that game.
Well, probably, but we don't know. Creative liberties.
I'm demanding it now.
See, it's not so fun when you use it to poke holes.
It isn't. We get to see the Hufflepuffs coming onto the field with the Gryffindors. It'll be nice to see if we see the games that Harry's not in, because obviously he attends some of them. And we get our first look at brooms. We get our first look at their Quidditch robes, which Jasmine and I did find out are sort of like a tied around the neck, not
They're
sleeved.
like attached to the shoulders.
Like a cape almost.
Yes.
And then there's an outfit that they wear too, like a Quidditch uniform. But I like this style of robe much more.
I like them a lot.
We get a turnaround shot, and this is a two-parter, of Harry with his massive broom. I like the shaft of the broom because it's very reminiscent of the Nimbus 2000, especially with the gold here. The tail of the broom, still, I don't love it. If we're talking about trying to be book accurate, sure. It's accurate to her kindergarten drawings of the brooms. Very rudimentary appearance. What's weird, though, is that it kind of comes off nice and sleek here. I talked about this in our last episode. Nice and sleek there. And then it just chops. And then it's like a traditional massive broom head. And it's like it's two different pieces.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't like it.
You can't see, but over here, one of the Hufflepuff students who looks like a 40-year-old has another broom there's a piece here, there's another piece here, there's another piece over here, there's like 5 more pieces. It's just weird.
There's like an X.
Practically as a broom, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, you could say practically here. You could say that Harry's you could literally sweep with.
I wouldn't, but you could.
You could, more realistically than this atrocity. But if you want it to look like a real broom that you can sweep with, call it a clean sweep. That's one of the broom companies.
I get it.
Okay, sorry. I said this is a two-parter. It's a two-parter because we get to see the uniforms in more detail. We get to actually see the brooms, but we also have a cheeky little bugger hiding right here. That is Severus Snape. So if you guys look closely, you can see his broom and the end of it here. You can see his dreads right here. And then you can see his face and his robes. Now, we stirred up a little bit of shit stew, if you will, in the comments section, talking about a pair of robes that he was wearing when in a winter scene in the forest.
Oh, yeah. His trash bag.
I think we said body bag.
But I think we said both.
We said it was trash, and it looked like a body bag, and there was a big zipper at the middle. It's just a stylistic choice, people. You know, if I were the wardrobe department, that wouldn't have been the vibe I went with. That's just me. If you look at the zipper on the pants, they are covered by a flap. You could have done the same thing here. Would have made more sense anyways. Not jingling around the whole time. I don't know. It's also bright silver. Looks weird. He's peeking out. So this is definitely the Hufflepuff versus Gryffindor match where Quirrell had already tried to attack Harry.
Right.
And Snape is then brought on as the referee.
Snape wants to protect Harry. At the end, in Dumbledore's office, Dumbledore mentions something about Snape wanting to protect him.
The scene in the woods comes up after this.
Which
after
is why he's wearing
Quidditch robes. Because after the match, he goes to confront Quirrell in the woods. And I wonder the perspectives that we're going to get to see that from. Because we're seeing Snape head on, which implies we're going to see it from a ground level. But we know that Harry flies over the top. So we should be seeing it from like a bird's eye view. And then he lands in the trees. And so if you were to see it from lower than a bird's eye view, it's still like up in a tree and downward.
Sounds so challenging, landing a broom like that in a tree.
Especially like that. The Nimbus from the movies, you could land it like butter in a tree.
Yeah, it's
sleek and maneuverable.
It's maneuverable.
This, yeah.
It's not giving that energy.
But that gives us the explanation for why Snape is dressed like he is dressed. It's just one of those things that because, and again, I lifted the hell out of the shadows in this one. You couldn't see him in the trailer.
No.
You had to go frame by frame and be like, oh, there's something bright in that corner. I wonder what that is. Oh, it's a human being.
Pixel peeping.
We got to look at the greenhouses.
To die for.
They're sick. I'm not a gardener, although we have a wonderful garden at my house and I do try to help with it.
Yeah, but
I would have loved to have this in my property.
Yeah, same.
We don't actually get a greenhouse scene in the first books. I don't think we get one until Professor Sprout shows up in the second one and we get an actual class. But do you know why it might make sense for them to show it anyway?
Because they go from herbology to Hagrid's.
Yeah, but we don't actually get like a sample of the class. Why might it make sense for us to hear anything from the class?
I don't know.
What was it Professor Sprout said? Devil's snare, devil's snare. So where did they learn that?
Deadly fun, but we'll sulk in the sun. Devil's hair hates sunlight.
Devil's hair does hate sunlight.
You're rude.
So does devil's snare.
It's also not what it is in the books. It's slightly different than that.
Are you a witch or not? I can't wait for that scene. I just love everything that's going on here. It's kind of interesting that they get like an outfit for herbology. It makes sense that they wouldn't want to like dirty up their robes and then have to go back to class right after. I kind of like that. We also get a look at a few more characters. Do you know who's in this frame?
Neville and
Pavati Patil.
Pavati, yes.
Yes. And Hermione, obviously.
And then is it Sienna Musa?
Yeah, a lot of people think that's Lavender Brown,
okay.
Which makes sense. They're around each other all the time. It's interesting. We don't see Harry or Ron. Obviously, they'll be there, but they're not visible in that frame. I don't even think you see them in this other frame either. Maybe they're up here somewhere.
Yeah, I think they're on that side.
Yeah, but they would be there. It's just that they're not friends with Hermione, so they're not with her all the time.
No, they actually really don't like her.
Yeah, they actually
at point in time
actively dislike her.
Yes.
The first time we watched this, I had no idea what this was. I'm like, why are we seeing them run through the halls at Hogwarts for seemingly no reason? I thought maybe this was like the dueling club scene, but I'm like, no, it can't be. That's book 2. Plus, they didn't really run in that. Why are they here? They're running from something. Can you see it in the frame? Look up there. You might be able to see it. If you look closely, there's a hand. And there's a leg. There's a giant foot there.
That's not...
Troll in the dungeon!
No, they'd be in their robes.
Not if they're not in class.
Weren't they in the Great Hall?
Yeah, for the feast, but they're not coming from class. There are times where we see them throughout the trailer, like when they're at Quidditch. People are very much in muggle clothes. Some are in wizard clothes, but some are in just like muggle appearing clothes. So I think we're going to get a little bit of a blend of times where they're going to be able to be in their casual clothes and times where they're going to be in their wizard clothes.
Interesting.
I think the robes are really going to be reserved for like, if it's class times, you're in your robes. Kind of like if you were at a boarding school that had a uniform during class hours and after hours you could dress more casually. Same idea.
Oh, interesting.
It's daylight, which is odd.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be in the dungeons, but this looks like the troll chasing them. I suppose it doesn't happen in the dungeons anyways. They go to head him off and they see him initially in the corridor, even in the movies, but they lock him in the bathroom. So I wonder if this is him chasing them. They go to trap him in the bathroom, but he's supposed to wander in there and then they shut it. So this seems like it's a change of that scene a little bit.
I thought they were running on a table. Like I thought they were in the Great Hall running on a table.
I thought they were too. It's really hard to capture it for this, but if you go frame by frame, that's definitely a troll's foot. Huh. And I can't think of any other time they're chased by a troll.
Me either. That's kind of cool.
This is an interesting one because everyone got very focused on, especially with how dark it was, cute interplay between Dominic and Alistair Stout as obviously Harry and Ron. And it was adorable. It's the first time Harry has something to share with somebody else. He has a friend that he can just kind of be himself with, and he's still discovering who himself is. And Ron mentions a fellow passenger. A little stowaway. This is Scabbers, by the way. Pathetic, isn't he? So that's Scabbers, passed out. Little Peter Pettigrew on his back, passed out.
Scabbers. That's the person who killed Harry's parents.
They could just open up this window, chuck him out, and it's done. The story's done.
That's it, actually. Welcome to the end of Harry Potter. We can't get into that, of all of the times where you could...
Simply just win.
Yeah, simply just win.
I do love that we're getting little sneak peeks at all the different candies and all that stuff. It's going to be so fun to see how they do all those different things.
What are the like button looking things up top?
I think these are the bottom of sconces for lights.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, lanterns. I like it. It's a cute scene. I think
cute.
he's doing a licorice wand right there.
Oh.
Yeah, it's cute. This is the third time you need to think about those stairs I talked about at the beginning.
That's stunning.
Entrance hall, yeah. So some people thought that this was the stairway leading up to the divinations classroom.
No.
I don't think so. It's important to remember Hogwarts has like hundreds of staircases leading.
The cardio that these kids get daily.
Remarkable. That's why they can eat all the chocolate when Dementors come after them.
Exactly. Eat this.
It's chocolate.
You'll feel better.
I believe it's chocolate. It was on the ground. What could it be? So they have like hundreds of staircases leading everywhere. The reason I think that this is the staircase in the back of the entrance hall is twofold. One, it's not a staircase that leads to the divination classroom. It's a silver ladder. Read the books. There is a staircase that leads up the tower that goes to the divinations classroom, which this could be, but it doesn't go to the divinations classroom. That's a ladder, which they better get right. I want to see the silver ladder come down.
I agree.
What is this?
They're celebrating.
No, they're not celebrating yet. This is another rousing speech from Oliver Wood at the beginning of a Quidditch match. And they all go, let's go. And they like raise their hands.
Oh, okay.
We get to see Oliver Wood's rousing speeches. And hopefully we get to see Fred and George mocking him during it. Because I need that.
I need that in my life. Yeah, Eric's right.
This is in the trailer, but it was also one of the first things we saw from the trailer before the trailer released. And this is the screen grab of Harry as he walks, I believe, onto the Quidditch pitch. And if you zoom in, this little feller adjusting his turban is our first look at Quirrell. That son of a...
Shout out to Eric's wife, who was actually the one who identified.
Yeah, she's like, did you know Quirrell was in the trailer? I'm like, yeah. There was a snowball fight scene. I didn't include the snowball fight scene because there was nothing to validate the shadow that walks by. People thought the person walking by in front of the camera was Quirrell and that we're going to see him get hit by the snowballs in the back of the head, which is actually Voldemort getting hit in the face like he deserves. Get wrecked. But there's nothing to validate that. You can see him here, for sure. Purple turban.
For sure.
Thank you, wife, for pointing that out.
Is it purple?
Again, do not use this to judge color because I had to lift the shadows all by at least 0.75 to a full stop of light, which is a good amount. Now we get a nicer look at the Hogwarts logo. Here's the logo here on Hermione's robe. She has already been sorted. We know in the scene she's already been sorted. And you'll notice that there's a very columnar tree-like appearance to the Yeah, like columns.
I know it.
Like in the grand entrance hall. So everything's kind of tying together. The Hogwarts emblem here looking tree-like with the columns in the entrance hall looking tree-like, framing the doorway leads to the Great Hall. So like this nice cohesive vibe amongst everything. Speaking of cohesion, I really like that they're sticking to the non-house specific, and hopefully they do throughout the series, non-house specific robes.
Mm-hmm.
It's more cohesive.
I only have to get one robe, and I don't have to get a yellow one.
I definitely like it for the merch side of things. I can get one robe, and it's not house specific. This is a scene that you have to watch a couple of times. So this is Severus Snape in his actual robes. He actually looks pretty swank.
Yeah.
There's a couple things to pick up in this. So this appears obviously to be him with the Lumos spell at night going through the corridors. Jasmine, when do we see Snape going through the corridors at night?
All of the time.
Sure. But
because he's like an overgrown bat.
Which these robes don't give overgrown bat vibes. They might have to rectify that. Mm-hmm. But specifically, we see that from Harry's perspective in the books when he's prowling the corridors at night under, yes, the invisibility cloak. I tried to do my best to capture a frame where you could kind of see this, but as you're watching, so go back and watch it, you'll see these little sheens, these little lens flares, not just a flare from his wand, but like on here, you'll see them around the different specular highlights here. And those flares are not being brought on by poor coatings on the lens. They're being brought on by something in front of the lens, the invisibility cloak. So watch it back and you'll see how it kind of shimmers as if there's a cloak in between your visual perspective and Snape.
That's wicked cool.
I like that. That was something that I sort of picked up on it the first time because again, I like to look at these things in a critical way.
Did you guys pick up on that on the first time? Because most rational people don't.
I look at lens flares and stuff like that.
Actually, that's so true. He does.
I picked up on that, but I didn't really put two and two together until I watched it a few times. And I'm like, oh, that's his cloak. Because we also see stuff like that in the movies.
Right.
You know, that's how they depicted him being under the cloak when we saw it in the films. I threw this one in for fun. Dumbledore's holding a tuning fork. The reason for that is very unclear. It's not even clear if he's at Hogwarts, probably not. But I threw it in because they do the Hogwarts song.
Yes.
The Hogwarts, Hogwarts. I hope we get to hear that. Like in the true fashion.
Yes, in the true
obnoxious fashion. Yeah. But he makes the comment, music, a magic beyond all that we do here at Hogwarts. And it's a tuning fork.
Dumbledore's also kind of quirky.
And for all we know, just like his putter outer, this could be something that does something totally different. He could strike it and it like does this massive vibration that breaks down some sort of magical barrier. Or what. We don't know. It'll be cool to see what that is. You've got dirt, on your nose.
Just there.
Just there. The dirt is still on his nose. That was another, like, if you're watching too quickly or if the shadows are as low as they were in the trailers, you'll miss it. There's also a couple of leaks that we got where he wasn't wearing the flannel and then he's got the flannel on. Like the flannel was like tucked in somewhere and now he's got it on. It's unclear if he's going to have it on the whole time, but this is supposed to be his Chudley Cannon shirt underneath here.
Mm-hmm. I want that shirt.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. They're asking him, are you really Harry Potter? And he says, yes. And then you get this look on Hermione's face. And she looks either worried or she looks like she's really, really restraining herself. She really wants to say something like, I know who you are. I've read all about you and like a history of magic and all these other, she names like 5 books.
8 different books. Yeah. There's so much expression on that girl's face.
I'm stoked to see her play Hermione. I really think Arabella is going to do a marvelous job.
I'm getting those like really excited.
I know.
I want to just like shove you.
Elbow you right in the rib.
Yes, that's what my excitement drives me to do.
I'm stoked. It's going to be really good. This was a frame grab that was shared separately. It wasn't part of the trailer. I wanted to include this because there was a little interesting tidbit. When we first talked about this, we kind of got wrapped up on her dress.
Yes.
Like her outfit. The tartan. And the fact that it wasn't very robe-like, which is true. You'll also notice, though, that there's a coat hanger back here. Mm-hmm. And there's a tartan coat here, which is presumably hers. Mm-hmm. But it wouldn't make sense that we would just see a coat hanger in the middle of the entrance hall or whatever at Hogwarts. Students wouldn't be allowed to just put their stuff there. Staff presumably wouldn't just leave their stuff there.
I assume it's her classroom. Or her bedroom.
Or the staff room.
Oh.
And we do hear about Harry going to the staff room to look for a teacher on more than one occasion. And so I think that this is alluding to that scene where he goes to the staff room to look for McGonagall. And that's why we're seeing this. It's just an interesting little tidbit that I had picked up on. And then I had kind of tried to think about like, why was this here? When do we hear anything mentioned about like, because we also hear about him hiding in there's like a armoire or dresser kind of thing
Yeah.
in the staff room,
Yeah.
which we don't see here. I could be totally wrong, but I suspect that that's why that's there.
That's brilliant.
I included this because we've already talked about the main things I want to talk about. It's just an awesome picture. Dumbledore looks sick. And again, looking at those giant column-like trees that are in the grand entrance hall, this one's like the color grading and the vibe that you're getting from this. I really wonder if this is a screen grab from the show. When is this going to be? I like that we see the purple robes sticking true to the source material.
They got his spectacles right.
They did get his spectacles right. And then we get some more looks at the Hogwarts students. Again, don't judge the color. I already went back and said that their robes aren't maroon.
Editor Eric here.
That was the color artifacting brought on by the compression of YouTube and all that stuff. When you lift the shadows up, it does the same thing. It makes them look more maroon. With that said, there's sort of an outer coat and the robes would be underneath. And then because that's not their main robe.
Look a little bit waterproof.
Yeah, it's like a different robe.
Yeah.
And then there's a different styling of dress for Hermione than we got to see in the movies.
Yeah.
She's got this higher waist cut pleated skirt. She's got like a lower cut sweater with like the tie. I really love the stylistic choice for her outfit. And then the boys is much more similar to what we saw in the movies, but the sweaters and stuff aren't so in your face house specific. The cardigans are not as like in your face house specific. Neither are the ties. Like all the tones for the house colors are a little more muted on the clothing, if those are in fact house colors.
Except for Hermione's. She's got the headband and she's got the belt.
I love the use of the headband. It makes the hair look a lot more poofy.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just another look at Arabella Stanton, so you can see sort of the attire. Again, the lower cut sweater, it's not the same as the boys. It's much more feminine while still having the tie and having the headband. Very cute. And that's it. That's basically everything I wanted to go over with you guys. So now that we've had time to digest it, I think we both agree that while people looking only for a book by book, page for page, word for word adaptation, if you're looking for just that, it's not going to be that.
It won't.
And that can be okay.
I will say it's taken us some time to get here.
But in looking at what's being shown to us through this trailer and through some of the other image leaks and things, it looks as if where the deviations will be is expansion of things that were at least mentioned in the book, and they're just further developing them, right? You're going to get to see that scene play out in more of its entirety. It's not just going to be this quick glimpse of, oh yeah, that time I ran away from Dudley's gang and I ended up on the roof. Oh yeah, that time that Aunt Petunia cut my hair down to practically nothing and I was almost bald and I was worried and it grew back overnight and I was blamed for it. It's going to be more fleshed out. How it'll be integrated, I have no idea. Whether it's going to happen chronologically in a more organic fashion.
And we could be wrong about everything because they could take creative liberties.
They could. And some of this stuff literally could just show up in the trailer. We have seen that happen numerous times before with shows and movies. There's been movies that like there was literally just a trailer cut and entire scenes from the trailer were never in the movie.
Thank you so much for going through this with us. We are so incredibly excited.
We are.
Now that we have seen this trailer, we have a date. We are planning for our perfect Potter premiere prefect party. It's going to be incredible. Please make sure that you subscribe, that you comment, and tell us if there is any other details that we missed. Mr. Analysis here truly has gone through and found a million more details than I could have. But if there's something he missed, please comment. I would love to tell him.
So mean.
We hope you're excited.
If you like the video and the content we shared, make sure you leave us a like. If you don't like it anyway.
Could be cool. We
are getting very, very close. We're like, at this moment in time, I think we're 13 subscribers away from hitting 500, which is a major milestone for us. We've grown by like 470 subscribers almost over the last year. Because we had a very, very tiny channel, stepped away from it for a while, came back. And it's been really awesome having you guys engage with our different videos. Now our addition of short form content, getting a chance for feedback there.
Getting to know you guys through the comments.
And getting to know your thoughts on just rebooting the series. A lot of people started out with like, why do we need to do this? It's not that old. And some of those people have come around to saying, well, maybe this could be fun. Or it's something I could share with my kids, something I could re-engage in and bring the magic back for Harry Potter. Let us know if you're looking forward to it, what's making you so excited about seeing it rebooted, being that it is still a young series? As Jasmine said, if I missed something, please do share it with the rest of us. Would love to hear it. Please try to keep respectful. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions. Everyone might view the same exact thing and get something different out of it, and that is fine. Just keep the discourse respectful.
And until next time,
Keep your wands at the ready.
and stay magical.
Finite.
Finite.